And we are live. Doing the Celtic news live this morning. Everything's out of position today. It's weird. It's weird. Anyway, let's see the comments and then we'll dive right in to the Celtic news. Port Chops, Morning Hoops, Richard Morning Baz, Big Dom, hail, everyone, and Richard Smith, hail. Right, there's a few things I want to talk about this morning. Just make sure that volume is okay. Should be. I'll just double check. Just double check the volume. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. It's perfect. Right, there are a few people online this morning. There's not a lot of Celtic news going around this morning. There is some things that are of interest, and one of them on the bits of news is John Hartson. John Hartson's been talking about Rio Hatate and Matt O'Reilly. And he basically says, excuse me, he says basically, you want to tie down your best players in this day and age. You can get an offer, says John Hartson. He says Celtic might still get an offer this window coming up at winter time or next summer, but you want to tie down your best players. You don't want to let them get into a situation where they've got a couple of years left and their agents can basically start talking to other clubs. John Hartson then went on to say, said, yes, but of course, getting them tied down as contracts means as well that the buying club will have to pay more money for them. Because in the terms of the fee, they have to buy out their contracts. And this is why it's very wise from Celtic, says John Hartson, to get Rio Hatate and Matt O'Reilly tied down on new, longer contracts. He said it's wise from Celtic. Besides that, they're both very good players. He says both midfielders have been absolutely fantastic since joining Celtic in 2022, just in January 2022. And the two of them have just been right in the middle of the pitch doing what they do and making sure that Celtic have the success that they've had. He said Hatate, for one, is you need to make sure his future is sorted out. His form dipped, and that could have been the speculation. That could have been affecting his game. That did affect his pre-season. As for O'Reilly, the 22-year-old is loving his time at the club, and he's found a sort of new lease of life under Brendan Rodgers. He looks a far more accomplished player this season. He looks more as if he's actually enjoying his football a bit better. He's helping out defensively. You know, he's supporting Callum McGregor a bit more in the midfield role. He's just been completely excellent, says John Hartson. The sooner that Celtic get these deals done, the better, said John Hartson, just in case teams come sniffing around. One of the things that I'm going to talk about as well, when you look at some of the media this morning, there's a lot of nonsense going about. I mean, even the Daily Record they've pulled out a story this morning, which was on a video from the weekend, and obviously it's the video of Brendan Rodgers after the game, going up and getting the young Celtic fan, and I mean, this was last night that they put out this story. And is that just lazy journalism in Scotland? It astounds me. And then you seem to get a lot of the other media are taking stories just from Clyde FM, which is just on. I went on and I tried to listen to the show from last night, and all they do is talk about Rangers. It does Scottish football a total injustice, but I'm not going to talk about that. Anyway, the Daily Record have been running the story about the Green Brigade cool Brendan Rodgers fury. A Celtic legend detects Ultras tension is fading after excellent gesture. And then they're going to tell the story about the young fan. Now, I put the video up. There's been other people who put the video up as well. There's been lots of videos about it. Do you know, and it's midweek. Fair enough, Celtic aren't playing. There's not a lot of news going around, but come on. 4 days later, putting up a story like that. Anyway, in other Celtic news, that I've been looking at. Gordon Dazelle, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there. He's been talking about the game at the weekend and talking about the comment that Alistair Johnson says after the game. And he said, look, this could have a massive, massive say on Celtic winning the league. And the Clyde Super Scoreboard pundit said he found it very strange that Johnson come out and say that. It could be a big result leading to a championship win. There's still a lot of games to go. And we all know what side of the fence he sits on. We all know what side of the fence he sits on. And he's absolutely He's raging, total raging hun the fact that Celtic won, and they won on that pitch. And this is what was important. And then I went back and I watched the interview by Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers talking about the game at the weekend. And he was talking about the fact that they sat down on Monday and they watched the game back. And he said, when you watch the game back at the weekend, you would never think for 1 minute that Celtic were down to 10 men in that game. He said he did. He said in Brendan Rodgers' own words, he said he wants to play fast, attacking, paced football. He says, but he doesn't want to play that kind of fast, attacking, paced football and and be caught short, and it's just a free for all. He said you have to have a bit of control in the game, and that's what we did at the weekend. Brendan Rodgers said that. He said, "Look, we had control at the weekend. We need to be able to have that fast attacking pace football, but then when we go down to 10 men, he said we still controlled the game." Brendan Rodgers has said, "Look, we can all fly forward, but if you don't control the game, we did that at the weekend, and that was what was so important about the win." Brendan Rodgers also went on to talk about um, players that signed a deal this week. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? It's more to the point. More to the point. Alistair Johnson says, "Look, it's important that we won that game." When you look at Celtic in the past couple of years, and they've dropped points at Almonville due to that pitch. It's just, of course, it's important. That it will come down at that game. Could come down to the difference between a 2 point lead and a 4 point lead. Anyway, we'll move on from that. Other news this morning, as I say, there's not a lot of news this morning. Everybody's going on about the fact that Livingston were hard done by last night. They got pumped. Let's face it, they got absolutely pumped and crying about the fact that there was maybe one of the goals against Sevco. The Rangers player pushed them. Oh, shut up, man. 4-0. Exactly. Oh, look who's back. And he's got another one. He's got another new channel. You know my name. He's got another new channel and he's subscribed again. I'll leave him on this time. Um, John Kennedy, keep it tatty. And let's get some more of the comments. Pumpkin, hail, hail. Blessed morning, Comrade Baz, Paul Baird, hail, hail. Richard Smith says, the comments are flying in far too fast. Where is it? Richard Smith, sell Hattati the next window. Sell Hattati the next window. Get him tied up in a new contract and then sell him the next window. Now he says, good morning, John, morning. Blessed morning, comrades. Morning, Baz. Gum says, their problem is using young ten for peanuts like Ben Doak. This is something that we spoke about in the channel before. Is it's all fine spending 20 million on a new complex to bring them in, but you need to be bringing a conveyor belt. Tony Ralston signed that new deal this week. The Celtic manager spoke about it last night, and he said, "Look, it's brilliant that these guys like Tony can come through the system. They know what it's like. They know what it's like to be a fan. They know what it's like to be on the other side of the pitch, sitting in the terrace. The last player that went on to sell for big money, that was one of us, was Kieran Tierney. We need to be bringing through more players through this setup. Hail Baz from Hong Kong. This is why I love this time of day. I'm going to show you. Just keep a tie. Not that one. Hong Kong one. There we go. From Hong Kong. If the likes of Motherwell fan, Dazelle, which was the 90s, Dazelle fan. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. Teams that play football against us, they try and get pumped. Teams can't play football against us, and then they do try and get pumped. I think that teams that sit back against Celtic, that does no favour to the game. And I think that teams that do attack, they just open themselves up. But then Celtic have to beat what's in front of them. Let's not say that the league's a bad league. It's Celtic are that good in the league. One of the things that we need to think about is Celtic are now in a position where they've got at least two good players in every position. Someone going to say, right, okay, you've got Bernabe that's not that good. But to be fair, Bernabe's not been given a chance. And the Friday Night Live, we're going to talk about the players in the team, the players in the squad, the team picture, the fact that James McCarthy was missing in action again, and any other Celtic news. Slavin says, when of teams in Scotland not sat. Slavin, see when you go back to let's go back to the Martin O'Neill era, right? And when you look at the way that teams played against Celtic then, teams never sat back. Celtic hit on the break. The amount of Celtic goals where Alan Thompson was running down the wing, Didier Gap was running down the wing, cross balls at Thompson, Sutton, Larson, goal. It's only the modern game where teams have started sitting back. So, I think I don't know where you're really going with that one because it's a modern thing. Teams trying to be defensive. Livingston going out and buying players just because they're 6'2", buying average players, and it does nothing for this. But this has been going on in Scotland for years. This was happened when my brother played football, and my brother was asked to go down to Man City in the 90s. People were talking about the players weren't taller enough then. So anyway, let's move on for that. Teams always attacked in the 80s also. Yes, they did. They did. And the league was better. The league was better in the 1980s. There was more teams winning the Scottish Cup. There was more teams winning the league. Aberdeen, Dundee United were up there. Dundee United and Aberdeen had fantastic runs in Europe because they attacked. This is the problem, that it's teams that sit back for the majority of the time that they play the likes of Celtic and Rangers in the league. They then get their wee soiree into Europe and they get their one or two games in Europe, and they get absolutely hammered because they don't know how to play decent attacking football. Anyway, manager scares to lose for the sake of their jobs. We did better in Europe. Yeah, we did. We did better in Europe back then. We did better in Europe back then because we had teams that didn't sit back. Anyway, I might start a different channel just to talk about Scottish football and world football anyway, rather than doing it on a Celtic channel. Good morning, boys. Girls from West Sussex. James in the house. Hill Baz. Neil Warnock being touted by Alan Brazil. You're kidding on. You're kidding on. Managers are scared to lose for the sake of their job. Yes, Richard. And it's been interesting that Scott Brown suggested that he will not come back to Celtic to have that comfort blanket around him to be able to work with Brendan Rodgers. I don't think Scott Brown should come back to Celtic just now either. I think Scott needs to go and do his own. I know Scott is his own man. Scott will go and do his own thing, and he'll be. He'll be a good manager, but he doesn't need to come back to Celtic to work with Brendan Rodgers. He has to go and do his own thing and learn from his own mistakes, as all good managers do. But Dom Shulman must be getting closer to our strongest players returning Baz from injury. Yes, that's something we'll probably talk about the live tomorrow night. All the players that are coming back. Stuart says, currently near your neck of the woods, visit my folks. I would rather we got O'Reilly tied down. O'Reilly's going to get tied down. Don't worry about that. O'Reilly will sign that deal, no problem. O'Reilly and Hatate. O'Reilly will sign a deal like that. O'Reilly doesn't want to go anywhere. O'Reilly wants to work with Brendan Rodgers because I think he knows how good Brendan Rodgers can make him as a player. Brendan Rodgers was talking about the fact that he likes to improve players in the Celtic video the other day. And yeah. Right, Hill from Dublin. A bigger league is a must. Remove the fear and the chance to play young players. Michael, I've been an advocate of that. You're sick fed up as a fan, personally going to teams, playing teams 4 times a year. It's just a nonsense in this day and age. In this day and age, it's just a nonsense. Have a bigger league, play each other twice, and get on with it. Portugal Express says, keep Hatate. He's now getting back into the team. We can't be looking to sell our players the next window, apart from those who don't want to be here. The surplus to require. Who doesn't want to be here, though? The only one that doesn't want to be here is probably James McCarthy. Oh, James McCarthy obviously does want to be here because he's not decided to leave, but he's nowhere near the first team. It's a strange one. Strange one. Jamie Young says, Hill Baz. Slane says, I will remember the SPL is rugby. Walter Smith literally built a career on it. Yeah, totally agree with that. Right, going to call it quits for this morning. We've got 111 viewers. That's a perfect amount of viewers. I'll do a video later on this afternoon, but let us say, the fact that the Daily Record are pulling out a story from Brendan Rodgers and the young guy from the weekend, they're pulling that out as a story today, considering the media and the press would have been at the game and would have seen it. Alistair Johnson's getting touted about it. It's because Celtic haven't got a game during the week, so the media are just pulling out anything to try and get stories. And it's quite disappointing that I'm starting to see some of the Celtic bloggers writing for. I'm not even going to go there. Just leave it. Leave them to it. Leave them to it. Last part is Celtic news. Outstanding. Peter Grant says 20-year-old didn't get any credit for his performance against Barry Ferguson. Labels Dyson Mider's dream teammate. Thumbs up from Rangers. Stick up your Jacksy. Said Haksabanovic at the double. Who cares? Ben Doak stats at Leicester as he earns. That's an interesting one. So Ben Doak obviously got a start at Liverpool. One of the worst ever decisions. The thing is, Celtic, he didn't want to stay at Celtic, Ben Doak. And we can talk about the young players leaving Celtic. I mean, Jurgen Klopp hugged Scotland and Liverpool sensation. Ben Doak is the headline. Ben Doak and a standing ovation from Liverpool fans. Uh, Scotland prospect 17. You know, he's 17 and he's in the. Don't even get me started. I think we need to do another live about that and talk about the youth setup in Scotland. Right, we are the best. Definitely skills and CCV could be a good pairing. I think that's probably the pairing that we're going to end up finishing the league this season with. Skills and Carter Vickers. That's going to be some turnaround. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans. All